Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Evolve with Evie podcast. We are here to evolve physically, mentally, and aesthetically to become the very best version of yourself. I am so excited to be back on the podcast this week. Had a little bit of a break last week. If you didn't already know, now you do. The Evolve Academy launched last week, which honestly is my ultimate fucking passion project. We are talking all things mindset, training, improving yourself, body image, nutrition, literally absolutely everything that you need to know, that you need to learn to become the most empowered version of yourself and transform physically, mentally, and aesthetically is in that academy. And I basically designed it for the woman who already knows what she's doing in the gym, who already knows kind of what her goals are, who doesn't really need external motivation to get going, but does need that extra support in terms of education and the community and having that kind of backed up research advice going on. So I'm not going to make the whole episode about that, but if you haven't already joined and it sounds up your street, then I will leave the link and all of the information in the show notes of the podcast episode today. Let me tell you now, right? There is years and years of value, of knowledge, of education, of experience packed into this academy, and it is only £19.99, which, let me tell you, I've spent multiple thousands of pounds on my education. So to have condensed it into digestible information for you to take and apply to yourself and be able to coach yourself throughout that journey for just £19.99 a month, pretty much a bargain. So I will see you in there, and I'm really excited to have you within the Evolve Academy. But today's podcast episode, today we are talking about how to manage your goals whilst also enjoying your holidays. If you haven't seen, once again, that was like halfway between bitch and girl. We're going with it. This gitch has been on many holidays over the last few weeks. I had my birthday on the 6th of January, after Christmas, of course. So Christmas, birthday. I then went to Paris. I then went skiing. She's been on the luxurious holidays over the last few weeks, and I've had a lot of questions as to how I've managed to maintain and continue to work on my goals whilst going on holiday, because in that time, in the last kind of 12 weeks of Christmas, of the lead up, of New Year's, of food, of family time, of birthdays, holidays, all of it, I have not gained any weight. And not to say that gaining weight is a bad thing. You're probably going to see a slight spike in your body weight after these events because you're eating a lot more food. But overall, I've not gained any weight. And I want to share with you today my techniques, my tactics, my kind of non-negotiables when it comes to going on holiday, maintaining my weight, maintaining my progress, so that when I come home, I'm not focused when I come home on how do I lose the holiday weight. I'm not focused on making up for the last few weeks. I see so many people diet up until a holiday, go on holiday, gain all the weight back whilst on holiday, and then have to undo their weight gain when they get back home. And they're just in this perpetual cycle of diet, holiday, diet, holiday, diet, holiday. And they just don't really get anywhere with their physique goals or with their mindset goals or with their training goals. So we are going to delve into that in lots and lots of detail today, because I know it's something that so many of you struggle with. And I actually had one of my clients recommended that we did this podcast. She requested is the word I'm looking for. So hopefully you guys will also find it really helpful. So when it comes to holidays, the first thing that we want to make sure we're doing is not dieting into holidays. If you've got trips away, if you've got weekends away are a little bit different because you can have those in the midst of a diet. But say, for example, you are going on an all-inclusive holiday this May bank holiday, and you've got an all-inclusive holiday coming up. And your plan right now is to diet from now until that holiday and then go crazy when you get there, or convince yourself that you're going to be able to stay on track whilst you're there. When you and I both know, after a prolonged period of restriction, your hunger hormones are a little bit skewed, okay? You're going to feel hungrier. You're going to want to have all those foods when they're around you. It is a natural human behavior. You're going to have been restricted and then been given it, and you're going to fuck it up. You know how there's loads and loads of sayings of when people win the lottery, particularly people that haven't come from money and they win the lottery, they lose that money within the first few years. And it's not because they didn't want the money enough. It's not anything to do with that. It's that they don't have any strategies to manage that money because they've never had that amount of money before. Now, you've had that amount of food at your disposal before, but when you go through a phase of being restricted and then you have loads of food around you, you've got the buffets, the meals out, all of it is right there in front of you, you are going to have a really, really difficult time managing your nutrition. So what we want to do is ensure first and foremost that we are not dieting into your holidays. This is a mistake I see all the time. This is something we do within our one-to-one client coaching, is if you have a holiday coming up, we're reverse dieting for at least a week or 2 weeks prior to your holiday. Because again, if you are going into that holiday, say for example, you have been in a diet and you are in a 500 caloric deficit, and then you go on holiday and all the fucking food is there and you're already starving from being in a diet for so long, you're going to eat everything, okay? So the first tactic is ensuring that you are not in a diet going on holiday. You have done a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks even of reverse dieting before going on holiday to maintain your leanness, to still look and feel your best. I'm not saying that you have to gain the weight back before you go on holiday. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have done the diet for the holiday to begin with. But having a strategy where we are potentially even reverse dieting prior to the holiday, maintain the leanness, reduce your hunger, increase your satiation, and get your hormones in the best spot possible before you go on holiday. This really ensures that when you get on holiday, you're not really hungry. You don't really care about eating everything in sight because you're not starving, okay? So that is the first thing that I would say is an absolute non-negotiable. Now, the second one is genuinely just having a good relationship with food. And I know that seems so blasé of a statement to make, but when you have a good relationship with food, things like holidays, things like meals out, things like buffets, they are not daunting, okay? So if you're in a spot right now where those things are scaring you, you may want to consider one-to-one coaching or even the academy. You know, we have a lot of resources in there to help you improve your relationship with food, but sometimes it does need more specific one-to-one coaching, in which case I will also leave the info in the show notes and see if we can help you, because it's quite a complex topic, relationship with food. But if you do have a good relationship with food already, you will not feel the need to binge when you get on holiday. You will not feel the need to overeat. Sure, you're going to crave crisps. You're going to crave chocolates. Do you think I went skiing? I went all the way to France and didn't have myself some Lays? Absolutely not. I had a pan of chocolat every morning. I had crisps here and there. I had some chocolate. I had pudding when I went out. But I did that from a place of love. Now, what a lot of people do is they go into holidays saying, this time round, you are not going to be a pig. You are not going to pig out. And what happens is then they go, it's like 3 days in, they're like, fuck it, like let's just enjoy our holiday. We're not enjoying this. And then they go crazy because they don't have that relationship with food, that common middle ground where you can enjoy yourself without pigging out. Again, if you are resonating with what I'm saying here and you're like, fuck, that is me, then please do drop me a message. And I would love to talk you through how we can help you improve your relationship with food, because it's not something that you should be struggling with on your own, okay? So, what was I saying? Blah, blah, blah. Brain fog. Need another coffee. No, talking about relationship with food, okay? So you won't need to binge, you won't need to overeat on those foods when you have a healthy relationship with food. This is why I don't agree with the whole notion of, if you crave something, just don't buy it, or out of sight, out of mind, because to me, that is reinforcing that when you see that food, you are going to fucking binge and you're not going to be able to control yourself around it, because you have repeatedly told yourself, I have to have it out the house for me to control myself around it. Like I can't manage that without it being out the house. I can't, if I see it, I'm going to eat it. So we're reinforcing that. And as soon as you go on holiday, or you're at the work meeting, or you're at your family's house where they've got those foods, you are going to struggle to control yourself around that. Okay. So having a good relationship with food is absolutely key. Now, another thing that I do for myself, and I also encourage our clients to do, is to set non-negotiables. What are the absolute bare minimums that you can do wherever you go? Wherever you go. So for me, let me talk you through my non-negotiables, and these might be very, very different for you, and that is completely okay. Listen to this, take what you need, do some writing, write it down as you're listening. If you're on a walk, get your phone notes out and really think about what would work for me personally as an individual, because what I do doesn't matter. It's what matters is what you do and what suits your lifestyle. We'll do another episode on this, but that's why reading the self-help books and listening to the podcasts, blah, 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 it doesn't mean shit if you're not doing anything with it and you're not applying it. Anyway, non-negotiables. My non-negotiables are very, very simple. And I do this whether I'm at home, whether I'm abroad, whether I'm at my family's house, whatever it may be. The first one, hydration. Your water intake is key, okay? a lot of the time in my journey, I have found that whenever I am thirsty, I just need to drink, okay? When I am feeling hunger, but I know that I've just had a meal, or I'm craving sweets, even though I know I've just eaten, a lot of the time I'm dehydrated. And I've gotten to a point within my relationship with food where I can identify that quite easily. I know that if I am craving like cookies, I know I'm thirsty, and it's rarely that I actually want a cookie. Now, obviously, if I have the water and I still want the cookie, then the craving is the fucking cookie, not the water. But a lot of the time I find for me, it is dehydration. I also really randomly crave fizzy drinks when I'm thirsty. So hydration is absolute key. And I know so many people do not prioritize their water intake. They'll maybe have a few glasses a day, and then they focus on like, what supplement should I buy, Eve? No fucking supplement, babes. Drink your water. It doesn't matter what supplements you buy if you are dehydrated. So your water intake is the first non-negotiable that I would set, whatever country you're in. I wake up before I have my first coffee. To be fair, I usually make my coffee and then I'm like, shit, I've not drank any water. It's not like I'm like intuitively like, my body needs hydrating right now. It's like, shit, I've not drunk anything and I know my breath is going to stink if I just drink this coffee. So, we're wellness girlies, but we're also realistic, okay? We're also realistic with life isn't always like fairies and rainbows and magic. It is sometimes like, fuck, my breath is going to reek if I don't drink this water and my piss is going to be yellow, okay? So drink the goddamn water. So every single morning before I have my coffee, I will have some water, probably like a glass, like 500 milliliters, but at least it's something to kickstart my hydration. Then drinking throughout the day, it's so easy, especially when you're on holiday, to just drink beers and just drink cocktails, just drink coffee. That's my lifestyle. But also making sure you're drinking water. And for most places, you can get tap water completely free. So we have no excuse not to be drinking water. Your water is absolutely key. So that also is going to help keep you hydrated. It's going to keep you alert, keep you awake. What happens a lot of the time is when you are dehydrated, you start to feel those sugar crashes. And it's not that you necessarily need more sugar, it's that you need some water. You need some water, babes. You're dehydrated. Okay, so that is the first non-negotiable. The next one for me is to make sure that I'm getting some protein in. And I would love to pretend that I am the saint of this and that I eat protein with every single meal when I'm on holiday. But the truth of the matter is sometimes you just want a pan of chocolat. Sometimes I just want pancakes and I don't want to get my protein serving in. And if you're a client listening to this, do not use this as an excuse. Do as I say, not as I do. And also, I do it all the time at home. I eat protein all the time, as long as I'm at home. So there's a catch-22 here. Do not listen to this and go, oh, but you said no. I said when I'm on holiday, okay? Take this with a pinch of salt. But your protein is so important. So I'll get some protein yogurts or some Greek yogurt. Ollie, my boyfriend, always takes supplements away with him. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I can't be arsed with that. That is just me personally. If you have really, really big physique goals or you're dieting right now, then you may want to do it. But I'm not dieting, so I'm kind of giving myself a little bit of a get out of jail free card, and I feel like I would be a fraud if I sat here and told you, oh my gosh, I literally take my supplements no matter what, because I don't. Like, I'm not taking my creatine on holiday with me personally, but that is your choice. But okay, so hitting your protein intake, I will always make sure I've got at least 3 servings of protein in a day when I'm on holiday. So that might look like taking some protein bars with me, buying some protein yogurts, buying just some normal yogurt. If you're like my boyfriend, take some protein powder, or I'll just make sure I choose foods with protein in them. If I'm getting a pizza, I'm getting some chicken on top as well. If I am going out for food, am I going to choose just a pasta dish or am I going to choose a pasta bolognese? We're thinking about adding protein in throughout the day. This is going to help keep you fuller for longer. It's going to help protect muscle mass, going to help with recovery, especially when you're doing a sport like skiing, when your legs are fucking tired all the time. So we've got to get that protein in somewhere. And also it's just generally really, really important for your overall health. Like, gains aside, protein is crucial for us. And it's not, again, you're not a failure if you miss some of your protein whilst you're on holiday, but I'm just bringing these into your realm to be very, very conscious of these things, because if you just go on holiday and you just think, oh my God, it is a free for all, I'm going to eat whatever I want, you are going to be on a very, very slippery slope. If we can have protein in every single meal, we typically make better decisions because we have that consciousness around food, okay? So that is my second non-negotiable. The third non-negotiable is just getting some fruit and veggies in. I am a big fruit and veggie girl anyway. Like, when I go on holiday, I don't know if anybody else feels this, but I just crave fruit and vegetables. Like, give me 2 days maybe of eating out at restaurants or like cafes and stuff, and I just want a fucking broccoli or some strawberries or something. So getting those in where you can. I know for me, whenever I go on holiday, I will always buy some. So say, for example, when we were in Paris, we ate out for every single meal, but we also bought a tub of strawberries, some apples, I think we bought some like nectarines and stuff just to have in the hotel room, because vegetables and fruits are life. Like, they're so yummy, and they're also going to be absolutely key in maintaining the amount of vitamins that we want to get in, your minerals, fiber content, which is going to help with digestion, which is particularly important if you are eating out a lot and you're eating, greasier foods than usual. Get that fiber in, babes. And also, it's just yummy. And it's healthy. Like, I don't even need to sell this to you. You should be eating your fruits and veggies, but making it a priority to get those in whilst you are away. There's a really, really simple few sets of food rules when you do go away, and that is to, choose some protein, choose a fruit and veggie, and that's it. Like, it's really, really simple when we play it down, but a lot of people don't have these rules in place or don't have these guidelines in place, and so just eat shite while they're on holiday or while they go away. So this is especially helpful if, say, for example, you are going away for the weekend and maybe you're cooking a few meals, right? Maybe you're going out for dinner and you don't just want a main, you want the starter, main and the dessert, and that is going to be a hefty chunk of calories. You also know that is going to take you way out of your deficit. So what we can do here is go, okay, I know that I'm going to have a slightly bigger dinner. I might have a slightly smaller breakfast and lunch. My lunch might look like getting a sandwich from the shop and having some salad with it. And my breakfast might look like, instead of having the pancake stack and the fruit and the ice cream and the chocolate, whatever it may be, your breakfast that day might look like, I'm going to have some yogurt with some fruit and some honey. But making those decisions that are in alignment with your goals at that given time. Again, it's a different situation for me here because I am not dieting, and so I have a little bit more free reign with food. But what I'm really trying to emphasize in this episode today is I maintain my weight when I go on holiday, not because I'm super strict around food, not because I follow a meal plan when I'm on holiday or I restrict myself, and not also because I eat whatever the fuck I want and I've just got a really fast metabolism. I maintain my weight because I'm smart with the rules and the guidelines that I take myself around food. Just to emphasize, if you don't already follow me on Insta, I had things like pancakes, crepes, pain au chocolats every morning. I had things like pasta, pizza. I had all of these things in both of those holidays. I didn't restrict myself, but I was smart with food. Now, the next non-negotiable, I don't even know what number we're on. I'm going to say number 4, is not being afraid to leave food on your plate. Now, please let me say this one without coming at me and saying you're wasting food. It is okay to leave food on your plate or to take it home if you don't want to waste that food, okay? It is completely fine to do that. I know so many of us are told that we have to eat everything on our plate, and it goes back thousands of years. It is so deeply ingrained in us from the back in the day when we didn't know where our next meal would come from. So it is so deeply ingrained within us to eat as much as we can when we have that food in front of us, when it is presented to us, because again, our ancestors didn't know where their next meal was coming from. And so we still have that deeply ingrained into us. And then you have your parents reinforce that by saying, there's kids in Africa or there's kids in poorer countries that don't necessarily have that food. So you're like, I have to eat everything. I am here to tell you today that as an adult, as a fully grown woman, you don't have to eat every single thing on your plate, particularly because you are already eating 3 meals a day. You don't need to stuff your face, okay? So I know for me, for example, for the 12th example of the day, I don't need to have a 3-course meal. You know what? I don't even enjoy it that much, because as soon as you get to that point where you're like 80% full, you don't really enjoy it that much more. You don't really enjoy each bite anymore. It's called the law of diminishing returns, okay? The law of diminishing returns basically suggests that the first few bites, to be fair, the law of diminishing returns suggests that the pre-anticipation of that food is what the best thing is. Think of a cookie, right? The cookie is so fucking good when you think about it. Can't stop thinking of this cookie. Especially when I'm on my period. Can't stop thinking of this cookie. You have the first bite. First bite is nice. You get 5 bites in, it's okay. It's nice, but it's not as good as that first bite. And this is the law of diminishing returns. So when you go out for dinner and you think you need to have a 3-course meal plus sides, plus picky bits of everybody else's, ask yourself, is this actually serving me? Because following the law of diminishing returns, I know that I'm not really going to enjoy this by the end. So for me, what is one thing that I can get rid of? I love a dessert. I'm a sweet tooth kind of gal. I love a dessert. I really, really enjoy that. So I know that if I have a starter as well, even though I do love a starter, but I know if I have a starter as well, I'm not going to enjoy my dessert as much. So I choose to make that decision to go, I'm not going to have a starter. And I will sit there while everybody else is eating their starters, and I'll just enjoy their company. Because remembering that food, by the way, is not an experience necessarily of just what you're eating, but it's also the people that you're with, the company that you're with, the memories that you're making. It's not just about the food. Stop making it just about the food. Let me tell you that. Okay, so making that decision based off what is right for you. And then again, not being afraid to leave some food on your plate. I find this particularly with things like pizza. The first few bites are fucking sexual. Like, oh, goddamn, especially when you're hungry. Pizza hits different. But as you progress towards the end of that pizza, it becomes less and less nice with every mouthful, especially if you're eating quite mindfully, which we're going to cover in another section. So what we can do here is go, right, I am 70% the way through this pizza, and it's starting to get to that point where it's, you know, when pizza starts to feel like a bit claggy, like it's like, this is a bit doughy now. Like, I'm not sure if I'm loving this anymore. I'm starting to feel a little bit full. Then what we do is we make sure we drink some water, we make sure we're satiated, we make sure we're well hydrated. And then you take a few deep breaths and go, do I need any more? Do I want any more? Maybe you want more, but you know you don't need it. And so what you can then do is put it in a box, take it home. What I like doing is giving it to my boyfriend when I know I'm done with something. And as someone who used to struggle quite heavily with being able to leave food, I'm like, do you want this last little piece? And even if sometimes, especially if it's like pudding, I'm like, God, I could eat that right now. But I know that I'm satisfied. I know that I'm like 90% full, and eating it would just make me feel sick. But again, having struggled with my relationship with food, sometimes I just want to eat it all. And so what I'll do sometimes instead is just go, hey, Ols, do you want the other 10% of this? If he says no, fine, I'll leave it. But if I can give it to him, it kind of helps with that knowing that it's not going to waste, and knowing that I didn't need it anyway. And then I give myself a little pat on the back. And what that's doing is when you give yourself a little congratulations for not stuffing yourself to the point of being sick, you go, I can control myself around food. I do have a good relationship with food. And what we're then reinforcing is this idea that you are controlled, you are disciplined. But more than that your food doesn't control you. Because there's a huge line, in my opinion, between being very disciplined with food and actually just being restrictive and using discipline, quote unquote, as the cover for being restricted with food, which again is a whole nother episode. If you want me to talk about that, I absolutely will. And using your discipline as a badge of honor when in actuality it's food restriction. There's a difference between that and being able to stop yourself when you're satisfied, because you know eating more does not serve you. It makes you feel sick and you're stuffing your face, basically. So there's a huge difference between those two. Now, the next kind of non-negotiable I would say is eating mindfully. Eating mindfully. What does that look like? For me, that looks like making sure I'm well hydrated. I know I keep saying this, but guys, you don't even understand how much your water intake impacts you. Make sure you drink before you go out for a meal. Make sure when you get there, the first thing that you do is drink some water. And then we can follow some basic food hygiene rules. Food hygiene basically means the way in which you eat your food. So that's going to look like putting your cutlery down in between every single mouthful. Another really little one, which you might not realize, but is grounding your feet into the earth, grounding your feet into the ground. Your knees are straight, your shoulders are back. And as you are eating from a place of being grounded. I know it sounds weird again, but everything that we can do, especially if you struggle with your relationship with food, everything that we can do to ground yourself and to bring yourself into the present, the better we can control your relationship with food and manage that. Now, the next thing when it comes to mindful eating, putting your cutlery down in between every single mouthful. This was a game changer for me when I was working on my relationship with food and working on the ability to be able to stop myself when I was full and when I was satisfied. So putting your cutlery down in between every single bite, chewing 10, 20 times if you need to count initially to get yourself into a good pattern of that is completely okay. Chewing in between every mouthful, thinking about the flavors and the textures that you feel on your tongue, thinking about how it feels the emotions that you're feeling whilst eating that. Does it feel joyous? Is it enjoyable? Are you really enjoying the company? Really thinking about, and again, bringing yourself into that presence, because 99% of the time when we overeat from an emotional standpoint, whether that be boredom, whether that be distraction, whether that be sadness, whether that be anxiety, whether it be, there's so many different emotions that we could be feeling, but those emotions lead us to eat quite unconsciously. And we want to bring that consciousness and that presence back into as you are eating to help you eat until you're satisfied, but not to the point that you feel sick, not to the point that you feel really, really uncomfortable and guilty as well. You feel awful once you've done that, because you know you didn't need to carry on. You knew when you were full and you continue to eat. And that's why we want to bring yourself back into that present moment. So I think that is the majority of what I wanted to say today, was to eat until satiated. Don't be afraid to leave food on your plate. Make sure you're well hydrated, as we already know. Make sure you're making good choices with food. Just a really, really quick one off the bat here is, when you're away and you're in that awkward time between meals and you're feeling a bit peckish, rather than instantly reaching for crisps and instantly reaching for chocolate, can we eat something that is going to give our body what it needs? Can we have a bowl of yogurt with a handful of nuts for some healthy fats? Can we have some fruit? What is it that your body actually needs right now? And I really love to ask that question. Is this going to nourish me, or is this going to punish me? Do I really need this? Am I really hungry? Is this food really what's going to help me right now? And asking yourself those questions, so we make decisions from that state of consciousness and from that state of empowerment, rather than just for ease and convenience. And the more we do that, the more we improve your relationship with food. And I hand on heart believe this is the reason why I have been able to work on my relationship with food so well and get to a point where I can leave food, where I can make decisions for myself, whether it be to enjoy the chocolate or to make a slightly healthier decision. I can make that decision with full confidence and full clarity, because I understand my personal needs and I understand where I'm at with my relationship with food. I understand what my body needs. I understand when I'm hungry versus when I'm thirsty. And when you can get to this point with your relationship with food, I promise you, things like holidays, things like weekends away, things like meals out are so much less worrying, because rather than stressing about, oh my God, am I going to be able to control myself? You're just thinking, what am I going to eat on the menu tonight? I'm excited. Okay. So hopefully this episode has been helpful for you guys. I'm so excited to hear how you found it. If it was useful, as always, please do share this with anyone that you think might help. It might help. Share it on your stories, give me a rating on the podcast. It really, really helps me to help more women. If you found this episode helpful and you resonate with what I say, you have two choices as to how to work with me. You can either apply it for one-to-one coaching, where I'll personally coach you through all of these struggles, or you can work with us through the basis of the Evolve Academy, where I give you the tools and you apply them to yourself. Now, I'm really, really looking forward to hopefully helping you in some capacity, even if that's just through you listening to the podcast and learning through here. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you soon.